It's Julian of JulianKeenanGrow.com, and today I wanted to speak with you a little bit about the qualities of people who hold a tremendous amount of personal power, and I will make comparisons to people who are coming from a place of powerlessness. So in order to understand the top 4 qualities of people who are coming from a place of personal power, it's important to understand the opposite side of that spectrum. So essentially, people who abuse power or feel powerless generally do so and act in ways which are harmful or irrational, and almost always do it from a place of fear of losing power. Almost all wars and racism or prejudice in the world is based around the fear that another group or sect or sects of people is going to steal away their power. So generally, the fastest way to deal with that is to eliminate, which is what almost all problems in the world are caused by. This is an important thing to talk about, it's an important topic to acknowledge, and something that's really needed in today's world. So I'm going to get into it right now because I just want to get through and start offering this content. So essentially, the first quality of people who feel powerless is that they view others as a threat to their ability to control their external and internal circumstances. So essentially, they're blaming others for their own problems and their own internal and external states, and there's a lack of responsibility of dealing with their own emotions. So generally, what I spoke of earlier is that people are very irrational, or that they're coming from a place of charged emotion. It's very important to, when you feel charged or angry or annoyed at somebody, to not immediately react towards them, but to actually sit with these feelings and see where are these feelings coming from. And you may be justified in your anger, but generally, whatever that person did was done out of a place of lack of awareness. So your own lack of awareness is not going to correct that state of mind. So the second quality of people who feel powerless would also be, out of the fear of loss of control, they act impulsively, emotionally, irrationally, and self-destructively. So we just talked a little bit about the emotional and the irrational behavior that people behave as when they're emotionally charged. But the self-destructiveness is that it's important to acknowledge that these are actually forms of self-destruction. When we are blaming other people, we're creating more harm in the world, and we're actually creating more feelings of dissatisfaction. We have to put someone else down to feel adequate ourselves. It actually doesn't make us feel adequate, but it also disempowers us more. And basically, using people as a venting ground for your unresolved anger and emotions is not really a skillful way to deal with this type of situation, and it only illustrates the fact that you don't have that much personal power. So the third quality of people who feel powerless is that they need to put others down or dissuade others from making leaps in their lives to become better people. In other words, they usually subconsciously are attempting to dissuade others from making positive changes in their life, because it means that they will no longer have anything in common with this person. And then also, essentially, that means if someone else is choosing to evolve or hold the bar at a higher standard, they attempt to dissuade them out of fear of being alone, or because it forces them to address a side of themselves that they're not ready to confront. So essentially, it's shoving in this person's face, look, I'm trying to become a better person, you can walk with me and evolve with me, or you can just fucking stay where you are, because that's what 99% of people want to do anyway. They get very stagnant, and the idea of change is fearful to most people. Most people rather be comfortable, familiar, and in misery than make a leap of faith into the world, be judged, be vulnerable, or make a leap, whether it's a business leap or it's a personal power leap, or it's like a fitness change in the routine or the nutrition. And most people just don't want to change. So when you start talking about the fact that you're going to actually make positive changes in your life, it makes a lot of people very insecure, because they're like, whoa, I'm not really ready to do that, and I don't really want to hear about that. And I'm probably going to lose you as a friend or acquaintance. So whether I'm conscious of it or not, I'm going to try to dissuade you from doing that. So this is an important pattern to acknowledge, because people do it all the time, and it's something that happens all the time to me. And you can't really blame people, because it's not personal, it's just where they're at. And the best way to deal with that and not give up your own personal power is to just move on and find other people who vibrate at that same level of personal power. So the last quality of people who feel powerless would be that power source of all people who abuse power is resentment, anger, which is equivalent and derived from fear and feelings of inadequacy. This is important to acknowledge because in a little bit we're going to talk about the opposite spectrum of that and where is the power center of people who are coming from a place of personal power. So almost always, as I said in the beginning, the power source of all the motivation for all this behavior is like anger, which carries energy. It's yang energy. In Chinese medicine, associated with the liver. So when people are angry, the qi within the liver becomes stagnant. And this is when they start to become irritable. When people get explosively angry, it's called liver fire as a pattern of diagnoses within Chinese medicine. And liver fire is when you see people who get explosively angry and are like screaming at people or making accusations. And this is just a product of internal stagnation. Things are not moving correctly. And in order for people to feel better, they feel if they express it outwards towards a person, that it will relieve that. And maybe temporarily they feel better. But in the long run, the soul or the higher self is actually highly aware that this is not a skillful action. And these people actually suffer the consequences of that, generally low self-esteem, and then they will continue to try to justify that action because they're too insecure or too egotistical to actually admit that they were wrong, they fucked up, they were being rude or accusational, and to actually be the bigger person and just apologize and say, you know, I fucked up, I'm really sorry for making you feel that way. That must have made you feel really shitty. So it's important to come to a place where you're not so stuck in your own ego that you can actually apologize for shit that you fucked up on, because we all fuck up all the time. So now we talked about all the negative shit, like all the qualities of people who feel powerless. Let's talk about what is the opposite side of that spectrum, and what are some of the top 4 qualities of the people who are coming from a place of personal power. So powerful people, number 1, do not need to do things out of fear of losing power, because they understand that fear is a power killer, and they understand that all of their internal power is derived from within. So there's no lack of it. Nobody can take it away from you. It's something that you walk with in your own personal life if you put in the personal effort to cultivate that. So number 2 is that they know they have an infinite amount of it. They are abundant, and no one threatens their own internal cultivation of this energy because it comes from the source of all life. So there could be God to you, that could be like science, or whatever it is. It's like a higher power of some sort. And this is a power of all life, is that it is constantly creating its yang energy. It's giving, but it's both yin and yang, because the mother of creation is yin, it's female, it's feminine. And it births all things of creation, all things that are put out into the external world are birthed from somewhere. So it's both yin and yang. So it's a much more balanced approach to acknowledging source of life and deriving sustainable energy. A lot of ego and anger and resentment will fuel your energy and give you motivation to do things, but it's actually highly pathological, which is why people like Steve Jobs or like other people end up with cancer or health problems, because it creates a lot of stagnation within the body. It just generally creates inflammation within the body when you're really angry or resentful or upset about something and blaming others, not taking personal responsibility. It actually feels much better to just acknowledge that people around you, you can't really control them, but you can control your own internal and external states, and it is your responsibility to deal with that. So number 3 of quality of personal power, or people with personal power, would be that they do not need to put others down, make a show of their power, or control other people, because they know that all of these actions take away from their personal power. Once again, the people who are coming from a place of personal power, they know that if they were to go make a show of their power, it's only a waste of their own energy that they could be cultivating towards themselves, cultivating more internal power, cultivating more cool shit in the world, creating more abundance, right, for everyone. So they want to save their energy because they're more interested in what they're creating. They're already connected to the source energy, which is all creating, and really an infinite source of creativity. Anyone who makes art or music or writes or owns a business or whatever knows that it's much easier to continuously create creative content when you are constantly renewing it from a place of like love and abundance and acceptance, rather than, you know, anger, resentment, and fear, because that will fuel you for only so long. So moving on, Number 4, and the last quality of people with personal power, is that the power source of all powerful people is love, because it is passive and yielding, yet all-conquering force, which all life is derived from. So it's important to acknowledge that it's very Taoist philosophy that like you can conquer really anything with love, because it is yielding, similar to water, right? Which is a very yin or feminine substance. It moves around obstacles, it flows around rocks in the stream. And this is a way to think about it as a metaphor for daily life, where you can make the comparison between are you coming at things like water, or are you like walking around with a sledgehammer trying to force everything into existence, trying to like break everything into pieces and like smash people out of your way? And there's a lot of people who go very far in life with that second approach, and it's once again, it's not sustainable. It exhausts you energetically, it makes you tired, it's pathogenic, it gives you cancer, it makes you hate people, hate the world, burn relationships. So it's much more important that even when you feel like there's people who have wronged you or whatever, pray for them, try to forgive them, be the bigger person. And that's actually going to help you. If you feel like you can't pray for them, or you're just not in a place, ask for the ability to do that type of thing, because just whether you believe in prayer or God or whatever doesn't matter, because it's more a form of affirmation. It's a form of reprogramming the neurological synapses within the brain to change the pattern of your thinking, right? And so we do live in a world that's proven through science that the way we think about the world is a reality that we all personally live in. So if you think that something is possible, it's possible. If you think that something's not possible, it doesn't matter how much you try, you're never going to be able to do it, right? So very important to just acknowledge the fourth reason: all things of power come from a place of love, and that is the most powerful force within the universe. Love conquers all. So it's important to forgive people that you're resentful towards, because any negative attitude will only get in the way of your own personal evolution or ascension. So thank you so much. This is Julian Keenan Grow of JulianKeenanGrow.com. Please subscribe at the link below. Share this video with friends if you think it was useful. And I'll be with you soon. Peace.